Hello, everyone. We're live. I think we're live. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Lenny Sharp. I'm the marketing consultant and publicist of our featured author for today's event. Today is November 28th in the Philippines. It's still November 27 here in Canada. And of course, we have friends from all over the places that are joining us. For those who are watching us live through Facebook, we welcome you here at the Mulberry Books. We are a publishing company and we have this special talk featuring one of our authors. Once again, we would like to thank Prime Trade for making this first digital edition of the Manila International Book Fair possible and online, definitely. And you can do that by logging in on www.manilabookfair.com. And once you logged in, you just look for the exhibitor among the many exhibitors, the Mulberry Books. So once again, we welcome you. This is definitely live, and we're just so glad that a lot of our friends are watching. Thank you for joining us. And just to make things a little more exciting, we're giving out free books of our featured author for today's event. If you were able to be one of our early birds and you're locked in with us right now, congratulations. You automatically win a copy of our author's book, Marathon Wheeler. So please stay and relax. And I'm pretty sure this will be a pretty interesting talk. It will be inspiring. It will be something that would move you. But more than anything, it can leave you a good, a lot of good stories, a lot of good lessons, and a lot of inspiration for all of us based on our author's life. Okay, so let's move on. At this point, we would like to introduce to you the lady behind the Mulberry Books. Our company is pretty young, but we're just so glad that a lot of our authors have trusted us for their books. We journeyed with them in creating their books and building their stories. So to give us and formally welcome us to today's event, I would like to call in the managing director of the Mulberry Books, Miss Anne de la Cruz.
Hi, everyone. Hi, John, Janet, and Howard, friend of Heather. Hi to you all. So, welcome to our today's events. We will be featuring one of our highlighted authors, Heather Coombes. Um, she is the author behind Marathon Wheeler, The Challenges and Joys of Living with Physical Disability. This is one truly inspiring book that we can truly enjoy and relate page per page. I can guarantee you that. Her book, or Heather's book, Marathon Wheeler, also offers practical guidance to people with physical disability, their family, friends, and health professionals. So it's surely worth every penny that you got to. I'm inviting everyone to get a copy of Heather Coombes' Marathon Wheeler, and so we can all truly enjoy and get inspired by Heather. Again, thank you everyone for being here, and we all have a good day.
Thank you so much, Anne. We appreciate you of all the hard work that you put in to Mulberry Books and the many authors behind it. Thank you so much. Now, we talked about a little of the book and mentioned it, but at this time, we would like to feature to you the book trailer. I'm so proud to be working alongside with Heather for this book and the men and women of the Mulberry Books that put together the trailer. I really believe this is a beautiful trailer. So at this point, we would like to play it. Here it goes.
The experience of disability isn't the same for each of us. We're all unique, so my story and collection of practical ideas may not be for everyone. As a person with cerebral palsy who spends a lot of time in a wheelchair, I trust that my story will help you see possibilities of life and service in the midst of difficulty. I hope you'll find helpful insights in these pages. I trust that in reading this book you will find energy and breath to run, paddle, or wheel your own marathon.
There you go. I enjoyed every moment of making that trailer with Heather. As you can see, that was her voice, doing the voiceover for the trailer. It was so much fun doing that. And I believe we got a whole lot of views out of that trailer. So that's Marathon Wheeler. At this point, it's time to introduce to you the lady of the hour, our featured author. Heather Coombes was born with a neurological condition, cerebral palsy, which affects her ability to move comfortably or speedily. In spite of her physical limitations, she rose above her disabilities and able to experience education in mainstream and special schools. University education in the arts, librarianship, and theology opened many doors for her career as a librarian and later as a chaplain in disability and aged care. All these experiences are viewed through the lens of a persevering wheelie user. So finally, working with her for the past 7 months has been wonderful. And we're just so glad that we get to have her very first talk through online, and that's made possible by the Manila Book Fair. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from Australia, please welcome our author and speaker for today's talk, Marathon Wheeler, The Challenges and Joys of Living with Physical Disability, Miss Heather Coombes. Hi, Heather.
Hello, Lily. Thank you, everybody, for the warm welcome to the Manila International Online Book Fair. Today, I'd like to chat to you about the joys and challenges of living with physical disability. Imagine you're in a shopping centre and you see a person with a physical disability walking on sticks or in a wheelchair. It could be a motorised wheelchair or a manual vehicle. Your initial reaction might be one of discomfort, one of curiosity, or perhaps one of sympathy. You might wonder how they cope at home. Do they live with family? Do they go to school or work? Do they wish they could walk? What sort of personality do they have? Beneath the physical body, which may seem different, there beats a human heart, which may have more in common with yours than you realise. It is my pleasure today to pull back the curtains a little to let you have a peek into the physical and emotional world which one such person enjoys. I was born with cerebral palsy, a neurological condition which affects posture and movement. There are varying manifestations, but my type involves spasticity, featuring stiffness and tightness of muscles. These make my moving laboured and heavy going. Both legs are predominantly affected, such that I spend much of my time in a motorised wheelchair. My hands move well, but at a slower speed. My speech is clear, but more deliberate than most. Continuous exercise under the guidance of a therapist maintains my mobility. It may improve it a little, but it doesn't cure. I enjoy hydrotherapy though. The buoyancy of my body in warm water is my little bit of heaven. Movement becomes effortless and it's bliss. What are some of the challenges of living with a lifelong disability? The simplest of movements require intense concentration and effort. Everyday living could be mere survival without specialised equipment and skilled help of carers who visit each day to assist with domestic tasks, dressing and admin assistance. If I'm not in a healthy emotional space, some days I wage battle in a war zone, and there's little room for spontaneity in my life. Often I find myself at the mercy of other people's timetables and availability. Every activity requires planning, coordinating accessible transport, carers, toilet stops, and exploring whether venues are wheelie friendly. Life is further complicated when some venues advertise wheelchair facilities, but they do not suit my unique physical needs. Fortunately, I love organising. Accessing suitable education and employment is hard work. Despite enormous strides made in this direction, finding a vocation suited to a person's gifts and qualifications is like climbing Mount Everest. At the start of job hunting, my youthful enthusiasm and persistence were sorely tested, preparing countless unsuccessful job applications. After being unemployed for 8 months, I was rudderless until I ventured into voluntary work in the welfare field. I jumped for joy when my connections with people reignited and my spirit leapt, leading eventually to paid employment. My concern still is that there is an acute underestimation of the capacities of people with disabilities. Apart from physical challenges, there are emotional barriers to climb while navigating the journey through disability. It is difficult for people with disability who are faced with misunderstanding and rejection to maintain a healthy self-esteem with a balanced view of their strengths and opportunities for development. Unfavourable comparisons with others abound when they are spiralling into depression. Albert Einstein, the physicist, had a witty saying to drive home the point about judging capacity falsely. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. It will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. In case these challenges are beginning to dampen your spirits, let me hasten to add, there are many resources and joyful experiences which are right in front of me to build up my daily dose of courage. Now that I have retired, I have more freedom to structure my time. If I feel hemmed in, then nothing gives me more pleasure than to venture outside into the beauty of nature. I live in Australia where wattle trees flourish, purple jacarandas blossom, brush turkeys waddle, wallabies hop, water refreshes, and sunrises surprise. And here's a picture of beautiful wattle. If I want to escape reality for a while, I will poke my nose into a murder mystery or two. Biographies or personal development guides and books about Christian spirituality inspire me to understand the kaleidoscope of life and to provide encouragement to keep going. Continually learning new skills keeps my brain ticking over and enables stimulating conversations. I've been grateful to tutors, young and older, who dragged me kicking and screaming into the 21st century of technology, namely smartphones, computers, and teleprompters. Creative writing challenges me beyond my current imagination and capabilities. You'll see a photo there of some water that goes back into the nature talk. Okay. Many a time, my mischievous sense of humour gets the better of me and enables me to appreciate a lighter side of life. I remember once a curious emu stalked behind my wheelchair along the pathways of an animal park. The feathery bird glared at me with intense ferocity, proceeding to follow me as I tried to escape into the safety of the ladies' toilet block. When I safely ensconced on my throne, the emu, not to be outdone, poked his head around the corner to say hello. Is there no privacy? And there's a picture of an emu somewhere. There we are. On another occasion, I was sunbaking in my motorised wheelchair where the tyres had recently been fully inflated. Suddenly, there was a huge bang. I thought the world had ended. Because I have an exaggerated startle response, I took flight to the planet Neptune and back, only to realise that my left back tyre had exploded. I have found that a sense of purpose has enabled me to avoid the trap of self-pity. My desire is to help make possible a small part of God's dream for the world, and this gives me reason for living. I want to show compassion and a listening ear to those whom I meet daily. In fact, any person I encounter, regardless of their colour, creed, or background. I receive great satisfaction in my past and current ministry with aging people. They have much to offer in wisdom, experience, and determination. I spent 20 years of my working life in aged care facilities, offering emotional and spiritual support to residents and their families during admission, their residence, and palliative care. Prayer for me is a vital connection with a power stronger than myself on days when I feel weak and depleted. It is great to grab a lifeline from the divine and access extra oomph. Conversation with God reminds me that though I am not the center of the universe, I am deeply loved unconditionally. My family, friends, and daily carers keep me humble and grounded. Where would I be without their sense of humour and practical care? My toddler great nephews and niece keep me in touch with what it is to be young, not so innocent, and real. To summarise so far, I have described some of the challenges of living with disability. Then I sought to share with you some of the resources I have at my disposal to live creatively, thankfully, and with purpose. These included soaking in the blessings of nature, reading and learning new skills, cultivating a sense of humour stops me from taking life too seriously. Discovering a sense of purpose and cultivating a prayer life gives me strength and direction. I also want to pay tribute to a supportive family who keep the laughter and the support flowing. Finally, I will close with a small selection of practical tips on relating well to someone in a wheelchair. If you are talking with a wheelie, sit down at their level. If you are pushing a person in a manual wheelchair and you meet a friend from behind you, turn the chair around so the other is included in the conversation. In their home, always put things back in the place where you found them unless otherwise directed. If you want to ask a question of a person with a disability, address it to the person rather than to their companion. Assume average intelligence until you discover otherwise. You will find these and other suggestions in my book, Marathon Wheeler, Living with Physical Disability. I really hope you enjoy reading my memoir, which is also a guide to finding purpose in disability and a list of handy hints on making life easier for all of you. An honest book, I trust you will increase your understanding of how the other half lives. I recommend it for people with physical disability, their families, friends, and health professionals of all shapes and sizes. Happy reading, everybody. Thank you, Lenny.
Mute. All right. Thank you so much, Heather.
No
Wow.
problem.
That was, I never even thought that would run so quickly. I was, you got me to every word that you were saying, and I was just really engaged in, very tuned in to your talk. It's just, I feel like we want to learn more, we want to listen more. But then again, there's a book that everyone should be checking out as well, right? But I truly enjoyed that. And I'm pretty sure the rest of our friends who are tuned in, who are with us, would agree with me. The talk was pretty engaging, very honest. You just uh, ushered us into your world and made us see of how honest and real your experience, but also very inspiring and informative for us, which I think this next person will be much of help as he gives his insights and review of the book that you wrote. Okay, let me just have this to formally introduce him. Hold on. Please
Hello,
welcome
my name's John
Reverend
Martin.
John
I
Martin.
consider it a great joy to do this book review of Heather Coombes' book, Marathon Wheeler. For many years I had been aware of Heather Coombes. We shared a Presbyterian heritage in the Uniting Church in Australia. Over the years, Heather was easy to spot at church functions or in the library of the Theological College. Heather was in a wheelchair. For the years before retirement, Heather and I were both chaplains in Uniting Care Ageing residential facilities in the Australian state of New South Wales. Our paths crossed at residential chaplaincy conferences. There we would be in the morning at breakfast. Some of us may have gone for a morning walk in the conference centre grounds, showered and dressed ready for the day. But not Heather. As she appeared with her smiling face, few of us knew the hours it had taken Heather simply to arrive at breakfast on time. In retirement, Heather and I both live in Queensland to be closer to our respective families. Closer contact with Heather, and especially reading her book Marathon Wheeler, has given me a deeper insight into what life is like for Heather and people with similar disabilities. Most of the book is the story of Heather's life to the point of retirement. It's a story of light and colour, of many glimpses of Heather's interest in things of beauty and her sometimes mischievous way of looking at the world. Heather was born with a diagnosis of cerebral palsy into a loving, caring family, spanning 4 generations. In the book, Heather testifies to the wisdom of her parents who watched a little girl struggle as she grew. Gutsy is a word which appears frequently in the book. It can aptly be applied to Heather. Unlike some autobiographies or memoirs, Heather is not out to paint herself in a good light. She is realistic as she testifies to the support of family, friends, and the God whom she loves in return. In these pages we see Heather joyful, depressed, fearful, and faithful. This is the story of coping with a school system before facilities for people with different needs were taken for granted. From school to university and postgraduate library work, we hear of how Heather faced every challenge that rose before her. We read of Heather's experiences working in various libraries and her considerable contribution to the awareness of people with disabilities in Australian society. As an aged care chaplain, Heather has many stories which illustrate the importance of this ministry and her diligent and professional approach to the tasks. We hear of her frank and honest account of dealing with the hormones of adolescence and romance while friends around her were marrying and having children. Her experience of the dark night of the soul and her willingness to let people accompany her has resulted in a mature person with great faith and sensitivity to her own needs and needs of others. On reading the book, I felt I knew Heather better as a person and also have a greater understanding of how to relate to people with disabilities. Included in the book are 8 appendices, some addressed to people with disabilities and some designed to help able-bodied people relate sensitively and positively to people with disabilities. These gems have been gleaned from a lifetime of exposure to helpful people who think they know what is needed. Gently, Heather hints at how we can all be more respectful and sensitive when we encounter a person with a disability, especially a person in a wheelchair. This is a great read with some pleasant surprises. I take great joy in presenting copies as gifts to friends and associates. It's a great tribute to Heather and the God whom she loves. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Thank
I'm
you.
in.
Thank you, Heather, for the privilege of being able to do that. Thank you.
Oh, that was very special, John. Thank you.
That's right. John, Reverend John Martin is a colleague and a retired Uniting minister. Heather knew him first in Uniting Church ministry circles in New South Wales, and they occasionally met at aged care chaplains conferences and similar gatherings, as both are aged care chaplain with Uniting Care in Blue Mountains, New South Wales. And right away, he agreed to give that book review for Heather. Thank you so much again for joining us and for your contribution in doing the book review. We appreciate you.
Good, thank you.
All right. At this point, I believe as we move forward for our for today's event, our viewers, our participants who are watching us, you will now have an opportunity to be asking our speaker, our author, our featured author for today's event. If you just logged in or if you just joined us, for those who were with us, we thank you for joining us. You can actually write your questions in our comment boxes, okay? Or you can also check out the book of Heather Coombes. It's available at the book fair at a good discount price, actually. It's at 30% off, and shipping within the Philippines is actually included in the book price. So that's a good deal already, okay? So you check us out at manilabookfair.com and you look for the exhibitor, the Mulberry Books. And from there, you will see our online store and you can check out Marathon Wheeler. Now, I think I have a question for Heather. All right. What can you advise or tell people who, with the present pandemic and how people are isolated and have to stay at home? Most of them are also going through depression. What can you advise them to remain positive in some sense and find ways to find purpose in the time that they have of probably being isolated or for some who are going through difficulty of being away from their loved ones?
Thank you, Leni. I think what I would like to say is that we can use this time of isolation in reading, providing the opportunity to increase our skill set in areas that interest us. We can also use the time to figure out what our next goals in life might be, and to write them down, and to also figure out how we might try and move forward with those goals. I think also if we're socially isolated, we might like to ring somebody up, from our circles, our church, our community groups, to see how they're going, because initiative in doing that means a lot to many people.
That's right.
I was grateful for the opportunity to meet with Mulberry Books in the middle of the pandemic, because it gave me some goals and purpose to work towards. And I've never been quite so busy with my writing and my speaking and media interviews than I have now. Yeah,
That's right. That's really true. It's just really a matter of finding creative ways to fill in your time with things that would enrich you and would make you enjoy as well. And the next thing you knew, time will just be passing by quickly.
yes.
Okay. Which brings me to my next question. I think this is more on writing your book, because we're in the middle of the book fair right now, and I'm sure there are people who would be interested to know about your book and how the whole writing experience was for you. Can you tell us?
Okay. Well, my book started a long time before I actually put pen to paper or finger to keyboard. I thought about how I could make sense of my life, and writing is more easy for me than speaking. So, in a sense, writing is a therapy. It was only when I retired that I had the opportunity to start to think about what I could say specifically. And those of you who know me will know that I hate the sight of blank pages. It's very paralyzing if you're a writer and nothing seems to come. So what I decided to do was just to start off with typing selected points that I might include in my chapters, even if they weren't in any order, but just isolated topics. And then I would try and organize the topics into some sort of order. Then I tried to put words under each of the headings that I made. And then I realized how awful those words were to start with. So I decided that I'd do some severe self-editing and to change things around. And Leni, you will know that I'm very wordy. I'm very wordy. So I need to discipline myself in shortening what I say. So that's another process. But then when I did my own editing, I let it out to family members to see what they felt. And then eventually I got a professional editor to look through it as well. And so it's a long, hard haul.
How long did you finish the book?
Well, about a third of the way through my book, my computer crashed.
Yes.
And I lost all of my gems. And I wasn't terribly thrilled. So it took me a year to get going again. But once I got going again, I wrote fairly fast, and it took about a year or 10 months, something like that.
Wow. And Heather, can you tell us who should be reading this book, Marathon Wheeler?
Well, anyone with a physical disability, specifically cerebral palsy, but you don't have to have cerebral palsy to read it. Anyone with a physical disability would have some interest in it.
Yes.
But also their family, their friends. If you're in a situation where you work with a person with disability and you want to be able to relate more sensitively, then this might be the book for you. The other audience might be religious communities, because I've got a section on how we can make church communities more welcoming. Health professionals like physios or occupational therapists, exercise physiologists, those kind of people.
Okay. You mentioned a while ago in your talk that along the way you were able to cultivate new skills as well. So aside from writing, what are these new skills that you've developed?
Well, I think I mentioned in the talk that I didn't realize what was involved in writing a book. I thought it was just a matter of writing a book and then it would magically happen to get your audience. But what I didn't realize was that you have to make connections with publishers and choose which publisher to use. Then there's the business side of things, negotiating prices and that sort of thing. But I've had to learn a lot of technology that I didn't even think of existed at the time that I started writing. Things like smartphones, things like teleprompters, things like computers and the intricacies of that.
Right now, because you've been very busy online, what's going to be the first thing that you will do if things will be back to normal? Like,
Oh, that's an interesting question.
it just popped out on my mind as an author.
Go swimming. Go swimming.
Okay.
I haven't been swimming for a while. Yeah, and my joints are missing the warm water. Yeah.
Okay. That's something my husband also likes to do, and he hasn't done that for quite some time too. So here's another one. Any advice that you'd like to impart to someone who wants to publish her book as well?
Well, I had a laugh to myself when I first read that question, and my first initial advice is don't write. Because I didn't realize what was involved after you've written. But if I had advice, I would say be patient with yourself. Don't be too worried about writer's block. If you have a rest and do something completely different, sometimes that gives your brain a rest, and yeah, that enables you to start again. But also don't be afraid of being corrected by people. Like editors are your best friend. It may not be a pleasant experience to have your darlings torn apart, but in the end, hopefully a good editor will make your work a little bit more presentable. And also be open to learning new skills and new technologies.
Yes. And you're doing wonderfully on that point, on that area.
With a lot of
Heather,
help.
there was this question on my mind. Okay, it just flew away from my mind. I'm sorry on that.
I know that's doing very well. Yeah, okay. I've enjoyed doing radio interviews recently. So that was another experience that I've had. And it made me aware of just how much paddling a swan has to do. On the top of the water, a swan appears calm and smooth, but underneath there's a lot of paddling to be done to make it look smooth. And that is the same with radio presenters and television presenters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people behind the scenes that make it easy for people.
I remember now the question. So you've written this book for, I think, 2016, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So what are the things that, the feedbacks that you get to receive from your readers that are in a way rewarding for you?
Well, I remember one friend who read it. She said, I didn't realize how much of a struggle life was for you. And I think it gave her an appreciation of what goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
So that was good. But I really tried in the book to make it an honest portrayal. I think there's a danger sometimes of people with disabilities being idealized, you know, and put up on a pedestal. But I wanted to say that I'm just like you in terms of my feelings. I have my good days and I have my rotten days, and somehow or another you've got to recover your humanity within that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, whenever I get to read your book, it's something that the things that you go through is you don't take it too seriously. You know,
Yes.
you always find a way to either laugh about it or, yeah. So I think that's one of the reasons why people will really be drawn to read your memoir, I would say. Yeah.
Well, sometimes a sense of humor gets to me at the most inappropriate times.
That's true, yeah. Now, Mulberry's book tagline is creating your books, building your story. What do you think makes a good story?
Well, it depends on the kind of book that you're writing. If it's a fiction book, I like stories with strong characters and nuanced characters. I don't like books that are too wordy. Um, um, you know, I can cope with about 300 pages in a book, but a friend of mine is reading a 700-page book at the moment, and I think that's not me. I want something short and sharp. I like descriptive phrases. I like someone who's done their research in a fiction, in a non-fiction book, and who presents it in a humorous way.
Wonderful. I was just wondering if our guest today have any other questions just before we wrap it up? No? But thank you guys for being so.
I've got a question. I've got two
All right.
questions.
Okay.
One question is this session being recorded? So can people look at it via YouTube or something later on? So is that a possibility? Because there might be people that couldn't be online on a Saturday afternoon that might be interested in seeing it. That's the first question. And the second question, is the book available in bookstores or is it only available by mail?
Sorry, you were just ahead of me of that. But yes, for your first question, our event is being recorded right now. It will be replayed. It will be posted on Facebook of ManilaBookFair.com and Manila Book Fair on Facebook, on their Facebook page, and also on the Mulberry site. And we will also put this up on Heather's website and also the Mulberry website for everyone to see and share.
Thank you.
On your second question, yes, the book is also after the book fair. You can get copies of Marathon Wheeler on our retailers such as Amazon.com, the MulberryBooks.com, and also on Barnes & Noble. And soon to come will be the audio format of Marathon Wheeler. There.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Heather, I think we only have a few minutes left. I'm pretty sure you have some words just before we would say goodbye to our audience.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all the people that have enabled this event to take place. I know it's come across with a lot of planning and a lot of thinking that's gone on. And so a big thank you to you, especially Linny. You've helped keep me sane and on track. And so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Heather. Heather Coombes, ladies and gentlemen, author of Marathon Wheeler. And on that note, this is just the first of the series of speaking engagements for Heather. I'm with her in the next few months. We have a few more runs to go for our different speaking engagements. That's something you have to look forward to. And on that note, also, we would like you to like her on Facebook. That's author Heather Coombes. Also on Instagram, and pin her on Pinterest, okay? You can also visit her website. That's heathercoombes.net. For those who have joined us and our early birds, we will be emailing you your free books, for that matter. Reverend John Martin, thank you so much for joining us and doing a wonderful book review. We'll be posting that on Heather's website, by the way, both a video and also the write-up. We will be posting that. And to Janet and Howard, thank you so much for joining us straight from New South Wales. Yes. And friends of Heather that are actually with her Karen and David, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right, Karen and David.
Yay!
Um,
And of course,
they're my tech support team on this end of the world.
yes. And our friends from Prime Trade Asia, who is helping us out on the technical side. And of course, my colleague Gentle from Gentle Sevilla from the Mulberry Books there in the Philippines. Friends, my name's Lenny Sharp. We thank you for joining us. We'll be back for our next event will be on November 30 for the book launch of Matthew Rucker, one of the Mulberry Books authors as well. Thank you so much to Manila International Online Book Fair. The book fair continues till November 30. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Heather.
Bye. Bye-bye, Heather.
Bye.
Thanks, Heather. It was great to hear you.
Oh, thanks, Jeanette. That's lovely.
Well done. Great presentation.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Howard. Thanks, Wendy.
Lovely to see you, Heather. Thank you.
Okay.
It makes me want to come to Queensland and see you even more.
Aw.
Oh, definitely. Okay. I'll put the welcome mat out for you.
Good. Okay.
See you.
You take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.